Hey there, how's it going everyone? In this video, we're going to discuss the initializer function. For the last video, we saw how to create classes as well as to give them properties, as well as to access those properties that you would give to those classes. So in this video, we're going to discuss a special function called the initializer function. The initializer function is a special function that runs every time we create an object of a class. And what it does is to set the properties that we may be able to have on that particular class. For example, if we create our employee class and give it fields just like we did in the last example, use the initializer class to dictate which fields those are, as well as to dictate the data that such fields may have by default. So let's go ahead and recreate our class. So I'm going to create that class by saying class employee, and then I create the initializer function. So I'm going to do that by saying def underscore underscore init, which they call the dunder init. I'm going to create that dunder init, and then it's going to take in the self. And self is a special keyword in Python that refers to the object at which we may be creating at that particular point. So this function takes in whatever field or whatever property that we may want to attach to that class. For example, we say that we attach the ID, we attached an age, we attached an email, then we attached a first name, last name, and let's use these properties for now. So what this does is to create an object, and whatever parameters we may pass into this function are going to be able to be the properties of that particular object we create for the employee class. So to do this, we assign these parameters as properties to that object, the self object. So to do this, we shall say that self dot id is going to be equal to the ID that we get while creating that instance. So we can also say def self dot age is going to be the age that we pass in that object. And then we can also say the email is going to be, so this is going to be self dot email, and that is going to be the email that we pass through the object while creating it. And also do the same for the first name. So I'll do first name going to be equal to first name. And we shall do the same for the last name. So I'll say self dot first name is going to be equal to last name. Now after creating this initializer function, to prove whether this function runs every time we create an object, what I'm going to do is to add a simple print statement. So I'm going to say print object created. And after doing this, we are going to create a simple instance of the employee class. I'm going to just come outside the class and create an employee. So I'm going to say employee1 is going to be equal to an employee object. And whenever we use the init function or the initializer function, we have to specify which properties we pass in as arguments or as properties of that particular object. So in this case, we can say that the ID is equal to 1, the age, let's say, is equal to 22. We can also say the email is equal to jonathan@company.com. We can say that the first name is equal to Jonathan, and we can also say that our second name is going to be equal to Bacon. So let's try to see how this is going to work. So let me put this on the next line. So I'm going to put the first name and the second name on the next lines, and here we are having our employee object created. So let's save this. When we save this, I'm going to run our code by pressing the button because I'm using code runner extension. So I'm going to press this button and it's going to run our code, and we see here that our init got an expected keyword argument. So the init function also helps us to validate which kind of data we may pass in our objects when creating them. So we see that you are having an error because we passed in an argument that did not match that we passed within our initializer function. So to correct this, I'm going to go and change this to last name and change this field to last name. When I save and first clear the output, so I'm going to run this again. So when I run our code, we see that our object is created. This is because we added a print function to test whether our init function will be called every time we create an object. So let's try creating another object. So to do that, I'll just simply copy this code. So I'm going to change this to employee2. I'll actually just paste, after pasting, I'll call this employee2. So I'll add this. So add this other data for the next employee. So I'll say jen at company.com. So I also add jen and add this case I'll add. So when I save this and run, so I'm going to first clear my output. When I run this code, you see that now our objects have been created 2 times. Now the init function runs every time we create an object. Every time we create an instance of our class, we can be able to run the init function. Now let's also access the properties that we've given to our objects. So to do that, we can just do that by saying print. So if we want to access the email of the first employee, what we do is say employee1 dot email. And when we print this, we run and we can be able to access the email of the first employee. In this video, we've seen how to use the initializer function, and we've discussed how we can be able to run every time we create an object. It helps us to describe the steps that are taken while creating an object. Thank you for watching this video, and please subscribe to the channel for more content.